Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to No More News. Thank you all for joining me today. Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. Got a huge show today. Some follow-ups on some of the things we covered yesterday, and it truly is. We are seeing the ZIOWARS escalate and unfold before our eyes, intensifying more than ever, really. Going to get into all of that, have a bunch of clips, a bunch of news I want to discuss with you guys. First, again, Randy Fine. I remember a clip of Randy Fine saying this a while ago, too. He likes to bring this up. He likes to invoke the memory of Jews and the expulsions getting kicked out of so many countries. They bring this up all the time because it helps their narrative of the victimhood. They're trying to frame a narrative in America that it's 1930s Germany. It's evil white supremacist Christians and Nazis, and they're not safe. They have to go to Israel. They have to make Aliyah. They're being persecuted. Anti-Semitism is central to the whole conversation in our cultural discourse right now. Anti-Semitism and Jews central to all of it, just like the prophecies foretold. Here's Randy Fine.
In the face of what is coming, not only I am here to fight, and we are in a time where we need fighters. We need people to go out and fight. We need people who are not going to be afraid. Because if we stay silent in the face of what is coming, not only on the left,
in the face of what is coming, they're expecting even more of a tidal wave of Jew hate coming. We know who runs these algorithms, right? And what they're allowing to flourish all of a sudden. You think it's out of containment, it's out of their control. The way they were able to suppress things back in 2019, 2020, 2021. You think that just the cat's out of the bag and they can't contain it anymore? Or is it being allowed to flourish? Are the algorithms enabling this to happen? For this narrative, for the whole discourse to be the fight between Jacob and Esau.
and fight, we need people who are not going to be afraid. Because if we stay silent in the face of what is coming, not only on the left, but on our own side as well, our time in this country could come to an end as well. Jews have been...
Time in this country, more again, like Jonathan Greenblatt's book, it could happen here. This is the narrative. They're not safe here anymore. It's 1930s Germany. Anti-Semitism and Nick Fuentes is being mainstreamed. There's more anti-Semitism than ever because of Elon and X. That is the narrative everywhere.
As well, our time in this country could come to an end as well. Jews have been kicked out of every country we've ever lived, and it's never been our own fault. And there are people who would like to do the same to us here. And unfortunately,
and then they get to point to the Christians that brag about this. They go, well, it's about to be 110. It's 109 countries. All the Christian countries kicked you Christ killers out. And they evoke it, and they play the victim, and he's in Congress, and they pass their speech laws. Just wait until there's some attack, too. Wait until a synagogue's attacked. Wait until there's some assassination or something. And just imagine the hammer that's about to drop with the climate that's been brewing. Never their fault. They get to point to the Christians and go, those Christians just made up conspiracy theories and blood libels and anti-Jewish tropes. It's the oldest hatred, the medieval hatred, the satanic Jesus-killing Jews, the drink baby blood, and our fallen angels, and in cursed, or all the other number of things.
Unfortunately, some of them are in our own party. But I can promise you this, as long as I'm in Congress, they ain't going to win. So thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, and they ain't going to win. They're just going to be used as the villain and the boogeyman and the pretext that ensures their power, actually. Or maybe this is such a perfect rabbi clip to counter this.
You know, if your child is thrown out from every single school in the tri-state area, right? At some point, the principal is going to tell you, it's not the schools. You understand?
He did
Jews
the
have
meme.
been thrown out from every single country they ever lived in, besides maybe 5. New Zealand, Australia, America, and maybe another 2. You tell me one country in the world that they lived, they weren't expelled from. So at some point, you got to look at yourself and you say, you know what? Maybe it's us. So you become a self-hating Jew. I understand the process very well. 2,000 years of being thrown out of every school. At some point, you look in the mirror and you say, you know what? I got the issue. You know,
cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Cool it, Rabbi. Cool it, Rabbi. Literally doing the meme. And then he goes on to say it's because Jews not following the Torah and the commandments correctly and not following God correctly that they get thrown out and punished by the hand of Esau. The divine persecution of the hand of Esau is what he's describing there. And it's what I've been telling you for years is about to happen with America and the West and Edom. And now we're seeing it. The ZIOWARS, the hate rising, the mainstreaming of anti-Semitism. They're saying Tucker is got his own brown shirts. Former conservative minister Michael Gove says the best way to judge the worth of a society is to look at how well the Jews are doing. Remember the talking point from Barry Weiss and other Zionists that like you can judge the sickness of a society is judged by on how they treat their Jews. And if they treat the Jews bad, that means they're about to be destroyed. She's basically echoing what Rabbi Mizrachi says and the rabbis says when Edom in their final exile of Edom turns against Israel, that's the sign the redemption is near and God's going to intervene and crush Esau and Edom.
Is that it is the case now that history teaches us certain lessons. And one of those lessons is that the safety and security of the Jewish community in any country at any time is the surest guide to how admirable and liberal that country is.
As opposed to how we look after the poor, as opposed to
how we look after prisoners, as opposed to how we treat Muslims, as opposed to many other questions.
I think it is the absolute acme. It is the gold standard of how civilized a society is.
Why?
It is the case now that history teaches us certain lessons.
The lessons of how you treat the Jews, and if you when you turn against the Jews, your empire gets destroyed. That's the story of the Jews. The rabbis always say that's like the chronicles of the Jews in the Bible. The Egyptians and the Exodus and the Persians and Purim and the Assyrians and the Babylonians and the Greeks and the Romans and now the West, the Christendom, Edom West. Well, you know their template. We know their playbook. We can see their rhetoric. We can see the narrative they're weaving. Tucker apologizes to Christian Zionist for saying that he hates him. Let's see this.
But I just want to say at the
see how much of this apology from yesterday on Dave Smith's show.
But I just want to say at the outset, because this has been weighing on me, I did say something that I really regret saying that I didn't fully mean. I said it because I was mad, which is always when I say things I don't really mean. When I get pissed, my wife's always telling me this. I was snippy and I didn't explain it. And I said something to the effect of, I despise Christian Zionists. And I'm just sorry that I said that because I don't. I'm mad at a certain kind of thinking. Some of the nicest people I know are Christian Zionists, actually. You know, if you're in a car crash, they would save you. If you needed someone to watch your bank account, they wouldn't steal from you. They're like really good people and sweet people. I want to be very specific quickly about what I was talking about. In at least a couple of different occasions, the Israeli government bombed churches in Gaza and killed a bunch of Christians. And not an accident, of course. I mean, this is like a very high-tech military with precision. I mean, they, gave pagers with bombs in them to Hezbollah. So like this is a military, a national defense institution that understands what it's doing. They didn't accidentally bomb 2 churches and kill these Christians, and they never apologized for it. And so I brought this up with a couple of Christian leaders, and including the Speaker of the House, and said, like, what is, we're paying to bomb churches? Because we're paying for it. And the response I got from every single one was, the Bible commands us to support Israel. And I said, so Jesus is telling us that we need to get on board with murdering Christians? Is that what you're saying? And they basically were just like, shut up. And I found that extremely, as a Christian, extremely upsetting. And I've never kind of gotten over that. but I should have said that. That's what I was talking about specifically. We cannot support the murder of innocents. I don't care what the pretext is. That is not allowed in our religion. And if it is, then it's not my religion. That's not what the New Testament says at all. It's not even a close approximation of what it says. There's no justification for that in the New Testament, period. So I am distressed. I don't hate. I shouldn't have said despise, but I'm very distressed about that. And that's specifically what I was talking about. So I just want to apologize sincerely for not being clearer.
Zionist Christian W, he apologized. Can't criticize the Christian Zionist. Tucker's not even willing to just outright condemn Christian Zionism, and he is a Christian. Great opposition. Great opposition to the Jews when your hero is Saul the Pharisee. Let's see another one. Tucker Carlson gave a masterclass in apologizing to Ted Cruz. So when he confronted Ted Cruz, he apologized too. Let's see if this one.
There are 3 things to know about apologies. I am a champion apologizer. I really believe in apologies. I have a lot to apologize for. The first, there's nothing more pointless or counterproductive than a half-hearted apology. If you're going to apologize, go all the way. I apologize to him and everyone else I've snapped at or been mean to, even poor Ted Cruz, who, I don't think is the most evil part, and he's just controlled by a foreign power. I feel sorry for him. He's kind of desperate and
this is
wants
sarcastic
money or whatever his motive is, but I was rude to him and I'm sorry. Okay. The second thing to know about an apology is that it frees
Power chats are turned on, guys. Let's hear what you got to say
about whether you did something wrong. Just admit it.
Do you agree?
Do you care? You don't care. Because you know exactly
different.
Jesus Christ. Sent $10. We need to come back like 30s Germany.
People in my family
Thanks
have
for
pointed
exposing
that out.
the
When
ancient
I get mad,
deceptions,
I get
Adam.
snappy and cutting.
Much love.
I went to boarding school as a kid. They inculcate that in you, the cruelty of the dorm. And I've been fighting against it my whole life, so I'm sorry for being that way. And it does the third thing, which is why it's a good idea. It establishes you as the boss. It is the ultimate power move. Stare straight into his face and say, I'm really sorry about that. I hope you'll forgive me for doing that.
Okay, I'm not interested in his fake apology video. Response to those criticizing how he interviewed Nick Fuentes. I was thinking with all the pressure and all the threats that have all of the Zionists kvetching about Tucker platforming Nick, who is going to be, now is it going to be a chilling effect and no other big influencers are going to have Nick on, or is it going to backfire and then he's going to go on even more big shows? I was thinking the next big name that Fuentes is probably going to go on is going to be Joe Rogan. Alex Jones got him on Tucker Carlson pretty much. He can't get him on Joe Rogan. The guy that everybody on the right is going crazy about, or everybody in the Zionist camp is going crazy about right now. What, Joe Rogan's going to be scared of the pressure to do it, you think? I think it's going to happen. We'll see.
One of the criticisms is that I went in and spoke to Ted Cruz, and I was so tough on Ted Cruz, but I was so nice to Fuentes. And it's like, I'm just trying to think of the Ted Cruz interviews. I was actually very polite to Cruz. And I just wanted him to explain what he thought. And like, what is AIPAC and why is it okay to take all this money from them? And they're not a foreign lobby. And he immediately, and I mean immediately, called me an anti-Semite. And I really wasn't expecting. I've known Ted since long before he was a senator. I've very mixed feelings about him and his life, but I never thought he would call me an anti-Semite because I asked him about campaign contributions, but he did immediately. And he did because he didn't want to have that conversation rather than just saying, they're lobbying for the Israeli government. Maybe they should be registered. I would still accept their money if they're registered. Like, who cares? He wouldn't say that. He was like, shut up. He tried to end the conversation through a verbal attack. And Fuentes, whatever you think of him, hey, Fuentes, what do you think? He would just tell you. Now, people are choosing not to believe what he said, and it wasn't a perfect interview. I've never conducted a perfect interview. I felt pretty good about it, to be honest. But all these people were like, oh, you should have this shit on that. Well, interview him yourself.
They're like, no, you can't interview him. You can't talk to him.
One of the criticisms is that I went in.
Okay, let's see here. Hold on. I want to do this one. Michael Savage. Tucker mentions Michael Savage. Watch this.
If you think people are going to come kill you, you hate them. And I do blame whoever raised Josh Hammer or Dave Rubin, who probably doesn't really believe. Dave doesn't have much of a soul. I don't know if he actually believes any of this, but there are a lot of actually good people I know Michael Savage, who's I've always really liked Michael Savage. He keeps texting me like, "You're a Nazi." It's like, Michael, it's me, dude. We're friends, and that is so obviously makes me so sad because I really like Michael Savage. I always have, but beyond my feelings, which are not that relevant, that gets you to hate. That produces hate. Fear produces hate. If you're panicked, like if I felt my house was being broken into, I would hate the home invader enough to shoot him without feeling bad about it because I feel so threatened. Right? It's that principle, but they're making it kind of nationwide, and they're really playing with fire. I think if you think people are
playing with fire, making that emotion nationwide,
and they're really playing with fire. I think if you think
whatever's going on, we are reaching a boiling point. Is it engineered? Is it natural? Is it organic? Is it inevitable? Is it just a generational run? Is it people really waking up and having enough? Is it being allowed to happen as a release valves with propped up controlled opposition paradigms? Just going to be used for the pretext for the big crackdown and for the destruction of the West, according to the script?
Level, this is a fight over what happens after. Obviously, on a political level, this is a fight over what happens after Donald Trump. What does the Republican Party look like? Does it actually adopt an America First foreign policy as promised 10 years ago? Or does it maintain its neoconservative posture, which is very unpopular with the public and has borne no fruit? I mean, it's been a disaster on every level for the United States for, since 9/11, at least. But what happens after Trump goes? And that's what this is about. That's why they're vesting the energy in this. That's what the rage is about, because they don't want to lose control of foreign policy. I just can't say that enough. It's about
is Tucker and Alex Jones legit patriots opposing Zionist power, or is there something more nefarious going on? They're a bunch of CIA, Russian agents, Jewish agents, something of the sort. Interested in what you guys think.
Foreign policy. They don't care about domestic policy because they don't care about the United States, but they do care about the U.S. Treasury and the Pentagon, the projection of force on behalf of Israel. And so that's what they're arguing about. Obviously, on a political level, this is a fight over what happens after Donald.
Fight over what happens after Donald Trump. So here's another piece in the New York Times promoting Fuentes now. Nick Fuentes was Charlie Kirk's bitter enemy. Now he's becoming his successor. The successor with what looks like some type of photoshopped, face-filtered image, like the best looking picture that maybe has ever been taken of Nick Fuentes on the cover of New York Times in black and white. Everybody's tweeting aura, or this is like a GQ cover. I saw it looks like he's on the cast of Twilight. Everybody's commenting and noticing about how the New York Times is clearly trying to make him look like a James Dean or look cool. All the Zionists are sharing all these clips of him with which a lot of the country and the world agrees with and thinks are awesome. The left-wing media, The Atlantic, New York Times, all the big mainstream media press is covering him. They're mainstreaming him just as much as Tucker ever did. They're kvetching and they're crash out over Tucker. It's like Nick already had 1 million followers and was well known before Tucker ever mentioned his name. He used to never mention his name. And then he got punked by Nick and got owned and ratioed and mogged by the Groypers online, and he basically bent the knee. But it's not like nobody would know who Nick was if it weren't for Tucker Carlson. Nick had already basically taken over Tucker Carlson. Anyway, it's just wild. There's a bunch of other headlines too. I think I have another one like this. I've never seen such it reminds me a lot of Alex Jones. They gave Alex Jones, all the time, all the exposure, all the coverage nonstop.
Helenas of Troy sent $10. It seems there is a push to have people call for foreign occupation in America. Everyone being pushed is pro-Russia/popery and are all anti-West.
Yep, I like that. I agree. Yeah, and then you know, if this is the figurehead, this is the poster boy, then it's like, oh, he loves Stalin and he calls himself Little Hitler, and you know, he hates women, misogynist, and you know, all of this stuff. They get to point and paint the villain. Imagine if he came out as gay now. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, there's all like the sexuality thing and the incelness. All of them are commenting on this. Like, you couldn't try to make him look any cooler. And then anointing him as the successor. The king, the next president, the king of young conservatism.
Dirty Rick sent $100.
Yo, thank you, Dirty Rick.
And if not, what gives you hope?
I hope I'm wrong. I hope they're not gonna pull it off. What gives me hope? Lift the Veil. Is that the real Lift the Veil? What's up, dude? Been a long time. He says Fuentes got the reach on his own, and now people are forced to platform him. That is true also. No, for sure. He's definitely like a prodigy and a genius and entertaining, funny, has a lot of good takes. It's like a love-hate with the guy. He will say some really good stuff, but then he'll also
Dirty
just
Rick sent
kill it
$100.
with like
Are
the
you
worst
completely black-pilled? And if
Kristen
not,
cringe.
what gives you hope?
Oh, did you do that one twice on accident? Anyway, I mean, if they're really scared, is this just the left? It was Goldberg is the woman that posted this article as well. Is the New York Times just trying to prop him up so they can paint all of the right as Nazis to try to win elections? Is that the play? Is that the play we're seeing here? All right. Let's see what some of the people are saying here. Some more. Hold on. Before we get more on that, let's do Randy Fine interview on Tucker Carlson. Hear what else he's saying here on Newsmax.
Look, it was a major meeting of Republican Jews, and the theme of the meeting was the rise in anti-Semitism on the right. Look, we've been battling it on the left for decades, but now it's coming to our own party, and where we have to stand up against it. I called Tucker Carlson the most dangerous anti-Semite on the right because people remember the Tucker Carlson of 5 years ago, who is an extraordinary asset and value of the conservative movement, but has fallen prey to this delusional darkness, which is basically American last, in which he demonizes President Trump, American Jews, Israel, everything we do, and stands with countries like China, Iran, and Russia. So it's become very dangerous. And I not only spoke out against Tucker, but since you put Kevin Roberts on there, I announced that my office was canceling an event that we were doing with Heritage this week, and we're not working with Heritage any longer. If you want to stand with the modern day leader of the Hitler Youth, then I'm going to stand against you. Look, it was a major meeting of Republican Jews.
Look, here's the other one that I saw here. The firewall against Nick Fuentes is crumbling. The Atlantic. Entering the MAGA mainstream. And then again, like black and white, shades on, trying to make them look cool. Using flattering photos to I mean, is it just me, or are you guys seeing this too? You think the same thing? It's like mainstreaming. It's like mainstreaming Nazis, mainstreaming hate. It's all we're ever going to hear. Okay, let's hear Shmuley's daughter's take.
Fanboy. We are living through some kind of fever dream, which just doesn't feel real and doesn't make any sense. Turning Point USA's silence, the White House's silence, the Heritage Foundation silence, arguably the three most important conservative institutions on the face of the earth right now, their silence in the face of what Tucker Carlson is doing is beyond shocking.
Johan sent $5. I think all this kvetching about Tucker and Nick is in the hope that some kooky evangelical kirks them.
Hold on, I missed what you said there. What was that? I missed it. Sorry, hold on. Big shout out to Dirty Rick for the hundo too, by the way. Thank you so much. Smashing the goal. Oh, no, almost got the goal already. Johan, I think all this kvetching about Tucker and Nick is in the hope that some kooky evangelical kirks them. Nah, I don't think that's what it is. I don't think that's what it is. I think it's more like just they're seething and they're freaking out like they always do about anti-Semitism becoming so popular, but it's like all of a sudden the algorithms are all allowing it. Facebook and Instagram and TikTok. TikTok gets taken over by the Zionists. I go on there and it's all the most popular videos are Candace Owens stuff. Jews are satanic, synagogue of Satan, worship the devil, all the kosher Christian conspiracies is what is most viral on those platforms. It doesn't feel
$5. People
organic.
just want Israel to be treated like any other country and Jews to be treated like any other people. They act like it's a war crime.
Yeah. Yep. No criticism allowed. It's going to lead to another genocide. That's what they always repeat.
A Hitler fan.
Any criticism is and you're a Nazi.
Beyond shocking. Tucker Carlson can host a Hitler fanboy.
Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool.
He can host a Holocaust denier who said that not Hitler, but Winston Churchill was the main villain of World War II. And also, Hitler didn't mean to kill all those Jews. He just didn't know what to do with all his prisoners of war.
That I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War. Germany, they launched a war where they were completely unprepared to deal with the millions and millions of prisoners of war, and they just threw these people into camps, and millions of people ended up dead there.
And he can host John Mearsheimer, who literally compared modern
87
Israel
cents
to
$5 on Rumble. I love how Jesus got angry with the money changers, but he had no problem with his fellow Jews cutting the skin off of their children's penises.
Yeah. What is that?
See Germany by saying that Israel did this whole war because of Lebensraum, which means living space, which is exactly why Hitler went to war. One of the chief aims of the Nazis, they wanted more living space for Germans.
Israel's goal is to create Lebensraum.
And it's like a nightmare. Turning point.
Old Craft sent $5. Hate is a force equivalent to love. By hating something, you bind yourself to that thing. The rabbis understand this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like Christianity thinks that Jews are the rejectors of Jesus, but also the chosen people that ultimately need to believe in Jesus one day. It's like a form of opposition to them, but also solidifying them and enshrining them as central and God slayers and chosen in your theology. For sure. And then it creates this dynamic, this dichotomy.
And not just that. They keep platforming him. Honestly, they're making him into the new Charlie Kirk. It just makes no sense. And the Heritage Foundation, the most prestigious conservative institution ever, came out saying last week that they will absolutely not condemn Tucker in any way, and they support him completely. This one makes me feel the ickiest. J.D. Vance being interviewed by Tucker, turning up with Tucker at different events, speaking together, best friends, when he knows what's going on. It just, guys.
This is what all the Jews are saying recently. Need More Amalek posted about this. I'm going to have to go find that. That all the rabbis, all the Jewish influencers are all super worried about Tucker's relationship with J.D. Vance. We have a clip of Ben Shapiro saying the same thing here in a second.
Vance being interviewed by Tucker, turning up with Tucker at different events, speaking together, best friends, when he knows what's going on. It just, guys,
he knows.
It's a fever dream. What we're seeing here is mass cowardice, and that is what leads to horrific consequences.
Look, here's Need More Amalek. He says, Jewish YouTube has been flooded with videos of rabbis and political commentary complaining that J.D. Vance has turned his back on Israel and became anti-Semitic. You know what they're probably going to start doing if they're not already? They're going to... there's a post where J.D. Vance called for Nick to be allowed back on Twitter. He said Nick Fuentes should not be banned from Twitter. They're going to say it's all his fault. Are the Jews not going to support J.D. Vance in 2028? Lift the Veil says the Jews are scared of 2028. Of what? Of J.D. Vance? Being a crypto Nazi? You think that's what it is? They're going to back Ted Cruz or RFK Jr. or Rubio? J.D. Vance just switched up on Israel and joined Team Tucker Carlson? ? And look, here's I think Shapiro.
Tucker seems to be able to find a way to swivel everything into a story about Israel or Mark Levin or Jews in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I saw that. David Icke got allowed back on YouTube. Why can't I get my... I went and checked my channel to see if they brought mine back too. Nope. That's... dude, I wish I could have my channel back, dude. That would really make my day, make my year if they reinstated my YouTube channel.
Tucker seems to be able to find a way to swivel everything into a story about Israel or Mark Levin or Jews in some form or fashion, which, of course, is part and parcel of the fact that he decided to have on the Nazi supporter Nick Fuentes last week and then gloss him.
Nazis.
That glossy interview with Nick Fuentes then allowed Nick Fuentes yesterday to take a victory lap over the vice president, J.D. Vance, because Nick Fuentes believes that since J.D. Vance and Tucker Carlson are personally close, and since Tucker Carlson was able to have on Nick Fuentes and massage him without comment from the Vice President of the United States, that this means that he now has J.D. Vance's candidacy by the short hairs. Here's Nick Fuentes saying just that.
He's getting squeezed because the Groypers are on the one hand saying, hey, listen, fat boy, we want America first. You want to run for president? We want to hear you say America first.
Nick is gaining the influence to call out Matt Walsh and J.D. Vance and pressure them to take a side on this issue.
And on the other side, he's got his donors, and they're saying they're horrible anti-Semites. You have to disavow them. You have to forcefully condemn them. Condemn Tucker. Condemn the Groypers. Now, if Vance condemns the Groypers, we are deploying to Iowa.
So that's correct. Nick Fuentes is using Tucker Carlson as cover in order to threaten the Vice President of the United States. That's what is happening. So well done to
threatening.
That
He's
very,
threatening.
Very good friend of the Vice President's, Tucker Carlson.
Yeah. If J.D. Vance doubles down on Israel support and siding with the Zionists, a bunch of America First people aren't going to support him. Clearly. Is that a bad thing? Dude, Ben Shapiro yesterday, they're going so chutzpah mask off. How yesterday he was like, this is our movement. This is our movement. You're not allowed to criticize Israel in our movement. Alan Dershowitz chimes in.
Jews control America. That remember, the extreme right and the extreme left always have one thing in common: they hate the Jews. Stalin hated the Jews, and Hitler hated the Jews. And now we're seeing people on the hard left, Mondami, hating Israel, hating the Jews. We're seeing people on the hard right, Fuentes and Carlson, doing the same thing. America is a centrist country. It thrives at the center. You can be a centrist Republican like Bill Buckley. You can be a centrist liberal like me. But you cannot be a good American and be a neo-Nazi Holocaust denier or somebody who puts people like that on the air. So shame on Tucker Carlson, shame on Fuentes, and shame on those Republicans who tolerate him, just as there's shame on those.
Dude, the way they classify him as a Holocaust denier, it's like, is he going to revisionist conferences? Is he like writing best-selling, or is he writing books on World War II? You know, is he making documentaries promoting that? Like, it's such a stretch to summarize him as that.
Democrats who tolerate Mamdani, including President Obama.
Yeah.
I left the Democratic Party, which I had been a member of for 60 years. I left it over anti-Semitism, and I would hope the Republican Party would make sure that it's cleansed of all this filth on the extreme right, which would
cleanse the filth.
What Fuente says is unbelievable. He denies the
unbelievable to talk about Jewish power and Jeffrey Epstein and Israel and Christian Zionist influence. Unbelievable, disgusting filth.
On the extreme right, which would demonize Jews. What Fuente says is unbelievable. He denies the Holocaust. He says that Jews control America, that they're destroying America. It's Hitler talk. And we can't allow a great party, the Republican Party, to engage in this.
If they have the ability to suppress everybody from talking about their influence over America, as they're able to shut it down and dismiss it as Hitler talk, as being a Nazi, to question their power and their influence over politicians and the lobbying and Netanyahu and the ADL and all the organizations, then they're going to be able to get away with it. If they can suppress everybody from talking about it, that's going to enable them to completely take over. How dare you have freedom of speech, right, Troggy Trog?
If Hitler talk or even tolerate it.
Can't even tolerate. Zero tolerance for questioning anything about Jewish influence. Zero tolerance for any criticism of Jews.
What happened when Jewish...
John Potteratz, coming from Israel, chiming in. Let's see what these guys have to say.
I'm going to take the argument further out. I don't like him saying that we're trying to cancel Tucker or Nick Fuentes.
It's ridiculous.
I don't want to cancel.
It's ridiculous.
No, but hold on. I want them ostracized. I want them removed from the conversation. Cancellation is something that happens to people who, say the wrong thing. They are trying to mainstream and legitimize discussion points that literally led to the near destruction of my and our people.
Dude, that's what it is every time. Not allowed to question anything, talk about their power, their influence, their agenda, their tribalness, their dual loyalty. No, all of this, any talk leads to Holocaust and genocide. Every single time they do this. And then that's why I say, is this being allowed to flourish? Dude, I'm just saying, wait until something happens. It's inevitable. Some type of horrendous attack is going to happen. What are they going to do to take advantage of that? Yeah, I don't want to cancel them. I just want to remove them from the conversation. Any criticism at all is going to lead to a Holocaust. Allowing free speech leads to Holocaust.
Is something that happens to people who, say the wrong thing. They are trying to mainstream and legitimize discussion points that literally led to the near destruction of my and our people. That is not a joke. This is not something that should be common discourse. It can exist. You can interview George Lincoln Rockwell, who was the head of the Klan. Famously, Alex Haley, who wrote Roots, did a big interview with George Lincoln Rockwell. Buckley had on Klansmen and Nazis on firing line. You can do that in part to tease out where they are and who they are. But the question here is, what the hell is happening in America that we have an anti-Semitic socialist Muslim, probably about to win the mayoralty of New York City, establishing the normalcy of views about Israel that are not only lies and false, like that Israel committed a genocide in a population that is growing in Gaza, and where kids are graduating from high school during a war, and there was plenty of food. That's a lie that there's a genocide, and it's a lie that the IDF's boot is, that the behavior of the NYPD is owing to the lessons of the Israel Defense Forces. He's about to win the mayoralty of New York City, and on the right, people who share these views are trying to establish that they are the leading edge of opinion on the right. And so this, what Mike Cote called in our magazine, the anti-Semitic horseshoe, we have to stop it. Like, I can't make
Dude, how's that for a soundbite right there? Dude, this horseshoe argument they always make, like, it's not the talking point they think it is. Like, what are you saying? Like, both sides don't like us. Well, it's like, okay, well, they disagree on everything else, but they agree on this one thing. Well, maybe that one thing is true then.
Called in our magazine the anti-Semitic horseshoe. We have to stop it.
We have to stop it. We have to stop it.
Like, I can't make common cause with this. So if Heritage is going to not say that the things that Tucker Carlson says and that Nick Fuentes said, even though he said, I abhor Nick Fuentes, but Tucker is my friend. Tucker agrees with Nick Fuentes. So if he's not willing to say they abhor, I am going to go to war with him. I am going to call everybody I know who gives money to Heritage and demand that they stop giving money to Heritage. This is the survival of the Jewish people in the United States we're talking about here.
See, the survival of the Jews in America is at stake here. So he has to cancel Tucker and call all his powerful Jewish friends that fund Heritage Foundation and say, we're going to shut you down. We're going to call you Nazis and claim you want to genocide us. Dude, this is maybe they are just going to overplay their hand and they really just can't do anything but double down. They know one trick.
And we saw what happened when Jewish communities in Europe did not have the power to stand up and try to snuff this.
Dude, somebody needs to make like an epic mix of all of them fear-mongering and alarmist and crying and scared.
The things that Tucker Carlson says and that Nick Fuentes said, even though
highlight
he
clip
said, I abhor Nick Fuentes,
of all the
but Tucker is
kvetching.
my friend.
Could be
Tucker
crazy.
agrees with Nick Fuentes. So if he's not willing to say they abhor, I am going to go to war with him. I am going to call everybody I know who gives money to Heritage and demand that they stop giving money to Heritage.
So this is actually
this is the survival of the Jewish people in the United States we're talking about here. And we saw what happened when Jewish communities in Europe did not have the power to stand up and try to.
Oh, by the way, I forgot about this. Heritage Foundation. He's talking about Heritage Foundation. The guy apologized. We can watch that clip in a second. They're the ones that were involved with Project Esther to the crackdown on the anti-Semitism. So you're telling me that Heritage Foundation pays they sponsor Tucker's show. They sponsor Tucker's show, who's now being used as the figurehead for this, Nazi takeover of America. And then they're also funding Project Esther, which is about going after anti-Semitism. So they're funding both sides of this conflict. And apparently this Jewish guy knows all the donors, knows a bunch of donors that donate to them.
Snuff this out when they had the cultural standing to do so, and they didn't, and they couldn't, and they wouldn't, and they didn't have the strength to do so. And this is an 8-alarm fire that is going on here because it's being set off on all sides.
Oh, I just saw this. Look, CNN. Let's see CNN's coverage.
GOP on.
Actually, hold on. I think there's one more little clip of this Pomerantz guy. Oh yeah, one more I wanted to show. Here.
I've said on the podcast before, but I'm actually sitting in Israel as I'm speaking to you right now.
Oh, really?
I've said on the podcast before, but I'm actually sitting in Israel as I'm speaking to you right now.
Oh, but don't talk about the dual loyalty trope. They're literally Jews sitting in Israel, plotting how they're gonna cancel people for criticizing Israel in America. Couldn't make it up. Okay, let's see the CNN. I didn't know that this. I'm not surprised they would draw attention to this and highlight this. Let's see how most of the normies are going to be exposed to this whole fiasco.
And our politics lead, more GOP on GOP backlash following Tucker Carlson's interview with anti-Semitic influencer Nick Fuentes. The Heritage Foundation's defense of Tucker Carlson led a prominent Jewish lawyer to quit the Heritage Foundation's National Task Force to Combat Anti-Semitism. That lawyer posted yesterday, quote, "I cannot serve under someone who thinks Nazis are worth debating. Here is my resignation letter." And here now is the author of that letter, Mark Goldfeder. Mark, thanks so much for joining us. So you are just one of many prominent voices we've heard really
we don't debate the goyim. It's like what the rabbi said. Remember, Rabbi Reuven said that, like they're not supposed to debate. No, they just censor you and slander you and destroy you. No debating. They misrepresent your views, cast you in the worst light possible, and then cancel you everywhere, and then try to pass laws to make it illegal and throw you in jail like they've done in Europe.
As well as Carlson and Fuentes. The president of the Heritage Foundation, Kevin Roberts, he denounced Nick Fuentes' views, but he defended Tucker Carlson for giving him a platform. In your resignation letter, you wrote, quote, "Free."
Dude, hasn't CNN had on like David Duke and guys like that in the past? Who are they to kvetch like this?
Speech.
Didn't CNN have on Richard Spencer as like one of their featured guys? Like, talk about hypocrisy here.
Protects the right to speak. It does not compel anyone to provide a megaphone for a Nazi, unquote. So explain for some people out there who might not understand, why is this?
Dude, like Nick's really a Nazi. Come on. He's an incel, part Mexican, American Catholic. Hardly a Nazi. It's not 1940s Germany. Oh, is he a member of the National Socialist Party? Workers' Party? Is he a member? Is he a card-carrying member? Does he have the regalia? Does he wear the outfit?
It's not an issue about free speech.
Sure. Well, what Roberts did was he conflated a lot of issues. First, he conflated criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. Anyone is allowed to say whatever they want about the state of Israel. Sometimes it's anti-Semitic, sometimes it isn't.
Like, so what? Nick said, like, Hitler was cool, right? That's the big own they have on him. He said Hitler was cool. He had aura. Like, if I say, like, some Japanese ancient samurai was cool, does that mean I'm a samurai now? If I say I liked the outfit of some of Kim Jong-un, I think he has a cool Dr. Evil outfit. Does that mean that like I'm North Korean now? It's just such a joke. Oh, he has to be banned and nobody can talk to him because he's a Nazi, when he's like very clearly just not a Nazi. Anybody that has any criticism of Jews, they call Nazi, and then you can't talk. Is this going to stop working? Is that what we're seeing? Is this technique stop working? Because it's the only card they pull. It's the only thing. It's their only trick up their sleeve that's always worked for them. Yeah, if I say I like Genghis Khan's, he was a good conqueror, does that mean that, I'm Asian? It's just so stupid.
Call it out when it is. But to pretend that what Nick Fuentes was...
Yeah. Can't villains be cool? Can't there be a cool villain?
$300 hail.
Whoa, Boleslaw. Whoa, bro.
Yes. I wonder what software and tools are you using for the research in the book?
Thank you so much for the big dono, bro. Boleslaw in the house. Monster dono. Want to make up for not donating? P.S. I wonder what software and AI tools you're using for research in the book. ChatGPT, Grok. For software, I'm writing it in Pages. That's about it. Kira, what's up,
Person
girl?
sent $5 on Rumble. Why doesn't anyone ask these kvetchers how they think anyone could pull off their worst fears nowadays anyway?
I know. They're like, oh, we're not safe here anymore. It's like, dude, the government is in the media is closer to making anti-Semitism illegal than a new Nick Fuentes Nazi takeover of America. What are we really closer to? Like, one guy gets platformed once and all hell breaks loose. Yet, what do you think? Nick's going to take over the Vatican? You think he's going to take over the Republican Party? Do Jews really think they're about to be rounded up and pogromed, or genocided in America? Because that's what they're saying. Do they really think that? Or do they just like to exaggerate and kvetch extra hard?
When he asked for the death penalty for perfidious Jews for somehow criticism of Israel is completely disingenuous. Then to your point.
And you see, this is the thing too. When you're for years, you're saying really outrageous, edgy things. Like you're declaring a holy war and anybody's against Jesus is, going to be annihilated. They get to use these sound bites and these clips and paint the opposition as a scary villain.
He conflated cancellation with not giving a platform to a Nazi.
He reminds me of who's the guy? Who's the Jewish guy that got arrested for whacking off in a movie theater? Not Howdy Doody. Pee Wee Herman. Is this Pee Wee Herman? Get the Pee Wee Herman look.
Freedom of association and the freedom not to associate. So everybody, self-included, and it should be heard, is free to walk away from Tucker.
All right, Mark, unfortunately, we're having audio problems with you, but we thank you so much for coming on. Let's bring this conversation back out.
Right, see through it all. They need to be victims for their scams to work, right? Playing the victim and the persecuted is how they get their sympathy. It's how they justify their war. It's how they keep everybody tribal. It's how they do their fundraising. Everything is the justification they're defending themselves against the evil oppressor. That's the whole identity.
To the panel, if we can. The Daily Wire's Ben Shapiro used more than 40 minutes of his show today to slam Carlson, to slam Fuentes, and to slam Kevin Roberts from the Heritage Foundation. Here's just some of what he had to say.
If Republicans decide to cower before the likes of neo-Nazis and their propagandizers, they deserve to lose. And
neo-Nazis.
Brother BD sent $5 on Rumble. I will believe
Brother
Nick and
BD.
Tucker are Nazis when I see the dressed up like Liam/Vrolzer.
I know, seriously. The way that you just like, I love how just a couple weeks ago they're like, oh, the left calls everybody Nazis, like Charlie Kirk. The left called Charlie Kirk a Nazi, so that's why he got assassinated. You know, it's your fault. And then they turn around and do the exact same thing to Nick. It really is tiresome.
Nazis and their propagandizers are not Republicans. They're not America First. They're not MAGA. They sure as hell aren't conservative. I will not stand by while it is handed over to those who betray the most fundamental principles I have spent my entire life defending and advocating. That is a path to defeat and a path to moral oblivion.
So there you have Shapiro, Shermichael, making the argument not only is this immoral, but this is going to hurt Republicans in the end. Do you agree?
I agree 100%. I watched that earlier today. I know Ben. I was happy to see a number of conservatives sharing that on social media and even via email chains and text chains. That said, these ideas that are represented by Fuentes and the ideas that Tucker, at least platforms, because I don't know what his personal thoughts are, but he's certainly given these folks a huge megaphone, are not representative of the vast majority of the American people. And so what you're doing to the party by platforming these ideals, you're making moderate-leaning conservatives, you're making independent-leaning conservative voters ostracized effectively by saying, I don't
Okay, we'll skip
expressed
this guy.
real issues with the man that is likely to be the next mayor of New York, Zohran Mamdani, and their view that he has mainstreamed anti-Israel and anti-Semitic ideas such as globalize the Intifada, which a lot of people think is calling for violence against Jews, etc.
Yeah.
Do you see this as a bipartisan problem?
Not in the way that you're describing. I think looking at what's happened in New York, you're right. There are people who have some concerns, and I think Mamdani has tried to do a lot of work since the primary to address those concerns.
CNN just has the worst. Who's CNN hiring these days? What is this? Okay, this is kind of funny. Chief Trumpster says, it's day 7 of the Tucker cost. That's a funny name for it. Tuckergate, Tucker cost. And Ben Shapiro is still seething about the Nick Fuentes interview. This is the second episode of Ben Shapiro crying, and it's glorious. Let's see a little more from today, a few minutes ago.
Tucker seems to be able to find a way to swivel everything into a story about Israel or Mark Levin or Jews in some form or fashion, which, of course, is part and parcel of the fact that he decided to have on the Nazi supporter Nick Fuentes last week and then gloss him. That glossy interview with Nick Fuentes then allowed Nick Fuentes yesterday to take a victory lap over the vice president, J.D. Vance, because Nick Fuentes believes that since J.D. Vance and Tucker Carlson are personally...
Okay, we already saw this. We saw that already. All right. This is the Jewish comedian guy. He does the impressions of Tucker. Part 1. Where's part 2? Where's part 1? Hold on.
Beings, actually.
He did a mockery of Fuentes and Tucker. His impressions of some of these people are pretty good.
I mean,
sometimes.
You have all these people, Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz, John Bolton, George W. Bush, Karl Rove. They're all Christian Zionists, and I know all of them personally. I do, really well. And they're some of the worst people I know. They're some of the worst human beings, actually. They're just horrible, and some of the most disgusting human beings on earth. I'm really offended by them. I'm offended by their existence. I really am. And what they've done is so harmful and so damaging. I really believe that.
Yeah, I love Joseph Stalin.
Dude,
really? Big fan.
Believe that.
Yeah, I love Joseph Stalin.
Really?
Big fan.
Nice. We'll circle back to that.
Dude, the way that they
what they've done is so harmful and so damaging.
The idea that there's nothing wrong, we're bad for having a problem with the way our Christian Zionist politicians are so slaves to Israel and just curse them in their curse, bless them in their bless. We can't have that. Our democracy, our republic is being dominated from within, infected from within with people that worship a foreign country and a foreign people. his laugh. I had another. I thought I had another one of him. Is this it? No, I guess we got to go to his page. I want to see the video. Media. His other one, it was a little longer. Maybe this is it.
I think it's important.
No. Shoot. I wanted to watch the full videos. Kamala Harris.
Important to remember.
Hold on, let's do a little bit of this one too.
That when we think about the struggles of everyday New Yorkers, that struggle is inextricably linked to the struggles in Palestine. Everything that's happening in New York to New Yorkers is attributable.
Okay, not good, not funny. That was part 2.
What happened? Well,
How many views does this have? 5,000, not all that popular.
So how did you get fired from that job? What happened?
Well, I said that Jews were parasites and that they were controlling all the halls of power and they need to be fought at every level and that they never could be trusted.
There's no such thing as a neo in American politics.
Yeah.
They claim Pat Buchanan is a neo just BC. He was a historical revisionism on World War II.
Yeah, the way they use it as a label to dismiss and censor and suppress and try to blacklist is so apparent that that's their go-to trick. Their number one trick. You hate, you're a Nazi. All Jews, you blame all Jews. Every single time.
And they were disgusting vermin. I called some of my colleagues Jew boys. You all need to be fought. You're disgusting parasitic creatures. And that Jews effectively are just this parasitic force in our society that's holding white men back. And I also said how blacks were racially inferior as well. So
that's it?
Yes. That was it.
Can't understand why that would upset people. And what happened next after that?
And after that, they just fired me, so.
Oh. And who likes parasites anyway? I mean, I don't know anyone who likes parasites. I had a stomach bug that was a parasite. I had diarrhea for a week. It was bad. It was bad, really bad. I remember it was... I ended up having to see a gastro who was who's Jewish, actually. And oops, I guess they start it and they finish it.
Exactly.
And so you said all those things, you said them. What are your actual beliefs? Like, what do you believe?
I generally...
You said all those things, you said them, but what do you actually believe?
I guess they start it and they finish it.
Exactly.
And so you said all those things, you said them. What are your actual beliefs? Like, what do you believe?
I'm generally a good person. I'm a Catholic. I love everybody. I want everybody to succeed.
Right, of course.
I certainly don't wish harm to any people. I'm not a violent person. And I'm just a regular, fun-loving guy who wants everyone to prosper together.
So, despite everything you've actually said, like everything you've ever said, you don't actually believe all those things. You are actually a nice person, like a good person, a tolerant, mainstream person, despite all the things you've ever said or believed, really, like deeply held, hateful, disgusting beliefs, despite all...
The impression, not only like the way he talks and the mannerisms, the cadence, everything. He really has the Tucker down. And like what he has him say too. It's like, it's not
all those beliefs and all the statements and all the things you've ever said. You're actually not those things. You're actually like a nice, good person is what you're saying.
Yeah, despite everything I've ever said ever about anything and all of my kind of core beliefs, this is what I'm saying now.
It's so true. So true. You know, before
we watched he did Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker too. That was pretty good.
I think this would actually be really helpful, like really helpful. 1 second. Here, everybody, watch this.
I like that.
It's the neuralizer. It erases everyone's memory. It's from Men in Black.
Well, honestly, I prefer Men in White.
Right, of course.
So,
me too. Actually, I'm not sure, but maybe. One more time.
Brett Cooper tells Fine to go back to Israel. Oh, okay. All right, hold on. I kind of want to watch the Marjorie Taylor Greene one. Let's see if I can find that real quick. Since we're doing these, hold on. Green with an E. No response. Maybe I got to do MTG. No response. Okay, not coming up. We'll just skip. We will skip. Here he is with what is this girl's name? Batya.
Statements you can find of Nick Fuentes. Jews are...
You did a great impression on your Instagram of the Tucker Fuentes.
I did, yeah. I don't know if I did. Did I do that? I don't know if I did that. Maybe I did. I mean, I tried to do that. I mean, there's a lot of things I could do at all. I was attacked by a demon. Maybe. The issue with Tucker is that it's not what was said in the interview.
Oh, dude, he's clowning him on the demon shit. See, you become the butt of the joke when you say stupid demon shit. Oh, I got attacked by a demon in my bed, and then now I decided I needed to read the Bible, and now I hate Christian Zionists. It's a heresy. It's a mind virus.
Maybe. The issue with Tucker is that it's not what was said in the interview with him, it's what wasn't said. Right. It was the giant anti-Semitic elephant in the room. All the history and obvious statements you can find of Nick Fuentes. Jews are parasites, and I also hate women. By the way, and blacks and all these different races. I just think white people need to seize power in the movement.
Helen Roy sent $5. The irony of a Catholic complaining about foreign influences in America is record-setting.
Yeah. Seriously. Or like always saying America first, but it's really Jesus first. It's really Catholicism first.
Now obviously trying to moderate himself, and for Tucker to just be like, so like, what do you really believe? Let's that seems reasonable. I mean, a little bit.
You did a great impression on your Instagram of the Tucker Fuentes.
Man, I can't find his MTG one anywhere. Anyway, hold on. Here's Newsmax. Now, remember, the CEO of Newsmax, Chris Ruddy, was there at the RJC giving a speech about all this anti-Semitism. Newsmax is extremely Zionist.
We're trying.
Let's see what they're saying, too. I think this is the last one on the Tucker.
I don't know if he
Tucker
the
cost.
title. He's an influencer. What say you?
Well, he has been a malevolent force really since October 7th. October 7th seems to have been interpreted by a lot of people, that's the massacre of 1,200 Israelis, as a permission slip to let their true feelings show. I think what we're seeing is the true Tucker unrestrained coming out. And he, for 2 years, has been platforming Nazi historical revisionists. He's been platforming people who claim that the Jews are responsible for...
Come on, dude. They all repeat this as if it's just really like there's some goose stepping, card carrying, revisionist, huge revisionist proponents or something. Who's the guy? Daryl Cooper. He's calling Daryl Cooper a Nazi now too, just because he's got some small different views on history, calling him a Nazi.
Decline of Christianity in the Muslim world. He has time after time platformed these people, and he nods along. So he has normalized anti-Semitism in the Republican Party. It's not a majority view. It's not even, I think, statistically a large position, but there is an influential group who are trying to destroy the MAGA movement, who hate Donald Trump because
they're trying to destroy MAGA. They hate Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump is a Zionist. No, we're trying to destroy MAGA. The whole point is you're not MAGA. You're Israel first. They're dude. Michael Collins Piper predicted it so good. I gotta pull it up. Let's try to find it. Listen to what he wrote about this fake Make America Great Again movement is really going to be Zionist. He wrote this in 2005. Check this out. Somebody said, thank you for talking about Piper the other day. I mean, with a prediction like this, how can I not always bring it up? Here it is. In his book, The Judas Goats, talks about Fox News, alternative, controlled opposition, keeping the conservative and traditional American ranks in line, touting the Zionist cause as an American one, a cause that is fully in line with not just making America great again. He wrote this in 2005 in the imagery of Ronald Reagan. And then Trump gets elected with that talking point. With that slogan, Trump adopted the same MAGA slogan, but in reality making America an empire and one that is ruled by the Zionist elite. These enemies within a perpetual war. And what does he say? In other words, Fox News is loudly and proudly promoting the theme that, and where did Tucker come from? Fox News. We got Candace Owens from Daily Wire and Tucker Carlson from Fox News. And now Fuentes leading the controlled op. These enemies within have an international agenda, a perpetual war for perpetual peace, a war not only against global terrorists, but also domestic terrorists. So now anybody that is exposing MAGA as being MEGA, you're a domestic terrorist, you're Amalek, you're a Nazi, you're an anti-Semite. And those domestic terrorists are those who stand in the way of the New World Order, which is nothing more than the longtime Zionist dream of world conquest. Isn't that pretty impressive? (2005), this one might have been 2006. The Judas Goats, subversion in American nationalist movement, literally called out the Trump presidency using the MAGA slogan, and it's really the Zionist elite. It's always been MEGA. And then look at this, too. Piper wrote in 2005, the New Jerusalem book, a whole chapter on how Donald Trump, who towers behind Trump, the strange story of the Donald, says he's a front man for Zionist power. Definitely owes much to the patronage of the Zionist elite. Owes his rise to fame and wealth due to the behind-the-scenes support from some of the most powerful Zionist families in the U.S. today, Donald Trump. I think Piper died in 2012, 2015, something like that. So he never got to see Donald Trump become the president and the formation of the Zionist-controlled op MAGA. It's not even Zionist-controlled op. It's just Zionist MAGA. He called Donald Trump and the MAGA thing in 2005, 2006.
MAGA movement who hate
That's
Donald
spot
Trump
on.
because they think he's too pro-Israel and he's got, too close to Jews. This is really a malicious thing. And Tucker Carlson is a major problem. And I wish President Trump, who's been great on so many things, would speak out about it, because Tucker is destroying.
I wish Donald Trump would speak out about it. I wish Daddy Trump will say that they're bad. It's probably coming. The Trump did, because there's a lot of pressure is going to be put on Trump because he had dinner with Kanye and Nick. So I bet you that's going to be the next big thing. Huge pressure put on J.D. Vance and Donald Trump to disavow Fuentes. And then it's going to be, already the threats about anybody that platforms Fuentes and mainstreaming and platforming Nazis and anti-Jewish hate. And I bet you Tucker is going to be the next one to do it. And it's really gonna. You thought the Tucker cost was big. Just wait till Joe Rogan does it.
Everything President Trump has achieved, because he's going to end up putting a Democrat back in the White House.
The American public, you also become an accomplice. What say you, William?
Yeah, well, notice who Tucker has gone after viciously. Senator Ted Cruz. Tucker claimed that Ted Cruz was working for a foreign government, namely Israel. Tucker has...
Ted said his number one thing in Congress was what he wanted to be the most pro-Israel person in Congress. Oh, but don't accuse him of working for Israel. He only goes around to Kufi events saying you're cursed by God if you don't bless Israel. But you say he works for a foreign country. Give me a break.
Cruz. Tucker claimed that Ted Cruz was working for a foreign government, namely Israel. Tucker has said he hates Christian Zionists more than anybody in the world, and he has specifically named Ambassador Mike Huckabee. So Tucker is a malevolent force that must be addressed. He's entitled to spew his hatred, but we're entitled to object to it, and we're entitled to call him out.
We're allowed to object to Zionists running our politicians. We're allowed to object to Christian Zionist fundamentalist fanatics like Mike Pompeo and Mike Huckabee and Mike Johnson and Pence and Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham. We're allowed to object to these Zionist traitors that worship a foreign country. No, you're not. You got to be neutralized and destroyed.
Johan sent $5. I met Piper and hung out with him in the AFP office in D.C.
Cool.
A very astute, cool dude. R.I.P. MCP.
Yeah, I know Ryan Dawson knew him too. I just had Ryan on last week. He was friends with him.
For it, and we don't have to invite him into our house. He got a huge platform. He runs to Qatar. He runs to Russia. He runs all these places and gets access to leaders. We don't have to have him ruling our party. And if it turns out that he has that influence, it's going to be the destruction of everything Donald Trump has accomplished, because
and
it's
the destruction of America
back in the White House.
And the destruction of America. That's where I could see this heading. Also, are they not just totally setting the stage for a Donald Trump betrayal of Israel? It's going to be, how much pressure is going to be? Donald Trump refuses to disavow Nick Fuentes. Donald Trump refuses to disavow Tucker and Nick Fuentes. He's a Nazi too. I can see that as a play in the cards as well.
Technically, tell you about Tucker Carlson, and by extension, so what does that tell you about Tucker Carlson, and by extension, the Heritage Foundation's Kevin Roberts?
I think it tells us that Tucker has decided to go in a direction way out of the mainstream. I've written a couple of articles and interviews about Daryl Cooper, the World War II revisionist. He's a crackpot. So was David Cullum that he had on. He's a crackpot. And Tucker Carlson, when he worked for Fox, I don't think either would have done that or would not have been allowed to. But I think he feels that he's unbound. And Ted Cruz has an especially convincing case, Rick, because he did a interview with Tucker, and Tucker was relentless. It was an ambush interview. He attacked with data and sometimes maybe with misinformation. He attacked Cruz relentlessly, and Cruz's subtext is, why would he cross-examine a fellow conservative in a very acerbic fashion and then allow somebody who's a pro-Nazi to get off scot-free? And of course,
there's no. That's a great point, Victor.
Do you hate the Jews, by the way? Like, what do you? Why don't you have anybody?
What would Charlie have said? What would Charlie have said? Hold on. Here's Asmongold, a big streamer that's been glazing Nick recently.
Ben Shapiro's side is losing massively. They are massively losing, at least on the internet. On the internet, there is an overwhelming support of America first, Israel last policies. I think some of this is fueled by genuine anti-Semitism. Some of it is fueled by, class frustration. Some of it is fueled by just very simply like not wanting foreign countries to be involved in your country. And so anyway, this brand of conservatism, I think, is dying. It's dying. Ben Shapiro's side is losing.
Here's the girl that used to work for Daily Wire. I think she got fired. Now she's groiping, apparently. Let's see hers.
Fact. It's a nudge of encouragement. I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to know who he is. He's a representative from Florida. He's the same guy who bragged about not washing his hands after he had a handshake with Netanyahu. He's repeatedly introduced bills to criminalize anti-Semitism, infringing upon free speech. I mean, he obviously, I'm sorry to say, but he obviously cares more about Israel than he does, principles like free speech. So, buddy, like, my advice to you, Randy Fine, is just move to Israel at this point. Like, considering you had to go through anger management classes a few years ago, I genuinely think you would probably be happier if you just moved to Israel. And that's what I dig at him. That's just a fact. It's a nudge of encouragement. I want everybody to be happy. I want everybody to be healthy. I think you would be happier if you just moved to Israel. You could be over there singing songs with Mike Huckabee. Who he is. He's a representative from
singing songs like Sweet Home Jerusalem, remember? Wasn't that what their song was?
This. He said, we're so blinded by your ridiculous, insane hatred of Tucker Carlson that you cannot see how irresponsible and hypocritical you are being. I mean, these tweets from Ted Cruz, I'm going to read you next, are a great example of this. So just a month ago, he tweeted this. He said, they don't kill you because you're a Nazi. They call you a Nazi so they can kill you. Political violence is a left-wing phenomenon. Enough is enough. We need to shut it down. And then in response to Fuentes...
Shut it down! Enough is enough. Shut it down. A lot of enough's enoughs.
This week, he tweeted this. Trump's bombing of the Ayatollah's nuclear facilities made the little Nazi mad. Good. So now you're turning around and you're calling somebody that you don't like a Nazi. You're doing this out of blind rage because you're so angry that the conservative base's attitudes are rapidly changing, that Nick Fuentes is getting national attention, and so you have turned around and in response, you are compromising your own values in anger, which is such a dangerous precedent to set. And unfortunately for you guys, yes, the attitudes are changing. So again, it makes sense why this group is incredibly frantic. We're so blinded by your ridiculous,
she talks really fast. She reminds me of that one, like she's mimicking that one popular YouTuber that kind of talks really fast and does the quick cuts and moves his hands. She's, who's that guy? Who does she remind you of? He used to be a little thicker. Now he's really skinny. He's got brown hair, brown spiky hair. She really gave me that vibe of that guy. Here, I'm going to just look up. No, not Ben Shapiro. It's another guy. He's a big influencer. I'm going to look up big YouTubers. I'm going to try to find it. He's one of the top ones. Let's see who can get it, if anybody knows who I'm thinking of.
Why don't you have anybody dissenting from the right? When are we going to have more nationalists? Instead of just engaging with the left, now that the Biden administration has invaded our country, when are we going to build a big tent with nationalists like Jared Taylor and Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I don't align with Jew haters. Sorry. Thank you. I'll talk to anybody. You want to tell me why do you hate the Jews, by the way? Like, what do you think of Jewish people?
No, I think they have a disproportionate influence in American politics. However, I do find it interesting that you trot out these far left
I'll talk
nitwits.
to anybody, but one of the people you mentioned says we should.
Philip DeFranco. That's it. You got it. Thank you, Moonshot. We're on the same level, Moonshot. Philip DeFranco. That's the vibe I got. Nailed it. Thank you. I didn't even find it myself. You got it. DeFranco. I'll show you, and you can see maybe.
We've got to talk about this MAGA right-wing civil.
I believe we need
to. Oh, he's talking about the same situation. Look at this. Same dude.
Because it's actually been going on for a bit, but it really heated up with this one interview. Because we had former Fox host and now podcaster Tucker Carlson bringing on the leader of the white nationalist group.
Same delivery.
Fuentes. Now, with that, Carlson himself has been called a white nationalist by critics for a long list of past comments he's made, especially his promotion of the so-called Great Replacement conspiracy.
He lost weight.
Suggests that there's a scheme to gradually replace white people with non-white immigrants. Even for Carlson, for many,
same style,
was seen as a uniquely far-right guest.
A lot of the hand movements too.
Anti-Semitism. And while you had people sharing moments from Carlson like this.
What I do think is bad.
I saw like a YouTube short, and there was like, they said that when you're talking to somebody, body language is important. If you have your hands in your pockets or under the table, and you talk to people, it makes them uneasy if they can't see your hands. And it got me thinking that, like, you guys always only see my face and never get to see my hands and my arms moving and stuff. So it makes you instinctually uneasy that you can't see what my hands are doing. You can't fully read what I'm saying without the full upper body and the nonverbal communication. Makes me want to rip the hands off.
Bad, just objectively bad and destructive is the all Jews are guilty or all anybody is guilty of anything, because that's just like not true.
You also had people sharing clips.
That's who it reminded me.
Yes or no? Do you believe in a holy war against the Jews? Yes or no?
I believe in fighting for Christ. And I believe that Jerusalem should be Christian.
Christ was a Jew.
Christ is king.
I agree Christ is king, but yes or no? This is not a trick question.
Do you
believe in a holy war against the Jews? Yes or no? Not a trick question.
Do you think we should try to convert?
Yeah, the scripted jump cut shit, it makes me cringe too. It makes me uncomfortable. It is unlistenable.
Why?
Yes, I try to convert everyone to Christianity. I try to convert Dennis to Christianity. I try to do it every day. It's the Great Commission.
But you know
what? Here's what I'm not going to put up with. I'm not going to.
You guys want to know what I'm doing when I'm hiding? I go like this. I'm just squeezing this thing over again. I'm just seething mad watching all these clips. And I'm just like, stress, give it to me. That's actually what I'm doing.
America, I'm not going to put up with that in any way, shape, or form. I'm not going to put up with it. And I'm not going to put up with it. It's disgusting. It's reprehensible.
Now that everyone agrees with me, I will graciously forgive them. All right, you win.
Insurrectionist Barbie with 1 million followers says, still a Christian Zionist. I know, I'm so radical. Not like it's literally in the New Testament in Romans. Forearm maxing. And for those who don't know, because the podcast bros haven't told you, the book of Romans is often called the heart of the Christian theology because it explains what the gospel is, why humanity needs it, and how it transforms everything from personal salvation to the fate of the nations. Romans 11:26. And so all Israel shall be saved, as it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. And here I thought Zion was Israeli propaganda, LOL. Yeah, exactly. You're all Zionist. Andrew Wilson debating with the Louder and Crowder guy about Zionism. Let's see a little bit of this.
I don't think it is absolute that my support for Israel is going to push them to name a false Messiah.
I see it as something that God has commanded me to do. So when I pray for the peace of Jerusalem as commanded in the Psalms, or if I pray, or if I live my life in such a way as Romans 11 says, when Paul's telling you, like, make them jealous of you, that's supporting Israel in my mind. It's not a financial thing, and it's not pushing for an
worship
Antichrist.
their God so hard and their Messiah so hard that you make them jealous. Like, that's how you win.
Temple or anything that can be misconstrued. So at that time, I probably would have told you, like, pushing for Antichrist.
Would you pray for any other group that's moving towards Antichrist?
I would pray for every single other group who's moving towards Antichrist. I would pray for all of them.
What would be special about Israel?
Nothing. That's my whole point. Like, my whole point is, like, I feel like Christians have kind of messed that up. Like, I pray for them like I pray for everybody else.
Okay.
You know, God is not done with them.
So then there's no special blood here. There's no special nothing here.
I mean, God is not done with Israel is a very kind of vague term. And I've said it a number of times, and I haven't dived to the depths of what that
They still have a special role in God's plan.
Exactly means. But my belief is that there's a reason that, and this is where maybe we would disagree on eschatology, that is it safe to say that you probably hold more of an orthodox position on eschatology, that most of the book of Revelation has been completed up till about the 20th chapter or so?
Well, look, I'm not a specialist in Orthodox eschatology. Right. That's a study all in and of itself.
Tough. Jeez.
It is. The thing is, though, what I will say is this, and there's people I would recommend.
Come on, you can't even give an answer? You're a Christian nationalist E-Crusader talking head. You can't even give an answer on what you believe about Revelation? Not even a brief summary?
Discussions.
They think the Antichrist has to rule and then Jesus will return. Just like the Protestants, just like the Catholics.
On eschatology. The things that I mostly focus on these days are mostly church history and the ideas that, especially now in the last year, it's become very politically relevant to dive into what's going on with what church fathers said about who Israel is, who the people of Israel are, what Christianity means, what our obligations are, especially when it comes to other nations, including any perceived Jewish nation, right?
Yeah.
And none anywhere in church history can you find anybody, any Christians anywhere talking about how if Jews establish a nation, then that's what Israel is. They always considered Israel to be us. We are the spiritual continuation, right? That's what Christians are. We're the spiritual continuation.
You heretic, other than
Abraham.
Galatians 3, you son of a gun.
So corny. Oh, actually, we're the Israel, though. There are verses in the Bible that talk about Jews having their land forever, the eternal capital, stuff like that. That they will return from exile and they will live there forever, it says. This whole like, we're the real Israel, though. Like, Christians think we're the real Israel. It's so annoying. Yeah, we're actually the spiritual Israel now. We're the Jews now. Yeah, your obsession with worshiping Jews is gay. The absurdity of Christian anti-Semitism, Volkaspiro posted. 1906 article in the B'nai B'rith Messenger by Reverend Simmons explains why, quote-unquote, Christian anti-Semitism is an absurd contradiction. So this is before Vatican II. This is before Schofield Bible, I believe, also, right? When was the Schofield Bible first published, guys? Schofield Bible published. 1909. So 3 years before. Oh, I thought it was based before then. All right, it says 1906. 9/10 of our Christianity is Jewish. 9/10 of Christianity is Jewish. Our rituals and ceremonies, our baptism, marriages, and prayers are molded by Jewish words and phrases. In our sorrow, we turn to Jewish words of consultation for comfort. Our hymns of thanksgiving are Jewish hymns. At our funerals, we are comforted by Jewish hopes. Our churches are descended from the Jewish synagogues, and our moral code is based on the Jewish 10 Commandments. This is how Christians used to talk even before Vatican II, before Schofield Bible. They go, oh, it was based in traditional before Schofield and Rothschild rewrote the Bible. The way they lie and try to scapegoat all of that. Churches descend from synagogues, and moral code is based on the Jewish 10 Commandments. Yeah, I don't know why he says 9/10 of Christianity is Jewish. I'd say 100% of Christianity is Jewish. Think of the situation in Russia. The Russian people are Orthodox of the Orthodox, conceiving themselves alone as truly Christians, yet they worship a Jew as God. So true. While slaughtering thousands because they are Jews, what is Russian Christianity? It is the redemption by the blood of the martyred Jew. Except his people were the instruments of his death. There would be no salvation for Russians. No salvation without the Jews rejecting their Messiah. Yet the Russian is torturing these Jews because they were such instruments, crucifixion, and torturing the Jews today because of something that would happen 2,000 years ago. Could anything be more ridiculous? Except the Christian idea that God is still damning humanity for a sin committed by the first man, Adam. Never am I so ashamed of my Christianity when I see it committed to this ignorant, illogical, and inhumane attitude toward the Jew. My only consolation is that it is essentially unchristian, a Christianity based on the grossest superstitions and representing the narrowest and cruelest instincts in human nature, misrepresenting altogether the real gospel and the real spirit of the Nazarene. Dude, Christians have always been Jew simps. They've always been guardians and shields of Judaism and defenders against anti-Semitism, always. Even like Nick said in the Tucker interview, St. Augustine put out the decree about protecting the Jews, and they're the witnesses, and they have to survive till the end of time and all that stuff. Has not the time come when Jewish virtues may be universally recognized and praised because of Jesus? By work and thrift, they take care of themselves and of their own poor. They are loyal to the government under which they live without cultivating revenge. They're loyal, obedient slaves and never want revenge. They have displayed an extraordinary patience under injury. Oh, they take abuse with such patience and disposition to forgive in the great forgiveness. Their domestic virtues have been strong and marked. Yeah, they are marks. They contribute, but in infinitesimal number to the criminal class. They have their faults, so have we all. The point is, the time has come when civilized people can regard each other with good will and rise above an age-long and senseless prejudice. That's a real Christian. That's what the Christians in the real world, not the e-crusaders on the internet, sound like. Oh, here's another one. A true Christian, clipped up by See Through It All.
Child of Abraham, part of Israel.
Here's your average Christian.
You are now a child of God, a child of Abraham, part of Israel. Read it with me, verse 26. For in Christ Jesus, you are all sons of God through faith. For as many of you as were baptized into Christ have put on Christ. There is neither Jew nor Greek. Again, there is neither Jew or Greek. And also for a lot of people who are Christians who are so proud about their heritage. I'm a white person, I'm a black person, I'm a brown, whoever you are, where you're from. When we compare that to who you are in Christ, these things, the worldly things, the temporary things, they do not even matter. What is more important is your new identity in Christ. You are a Christian first before you are anything else.
Christian first. Your identity doesn't matter. Jesus is your tribe. This is real Christianity.
Christ. You are a Christian first before you are anything else. And you need to love all people the same way. You cannot, if you are white, love other white people more than black or other colors. If you're black, you cannot love black people more than you love other people from other colors. I just want to make that clear because there's a lot of...
Is that clear, E-Crusaders? If you disagree, you will be thrown out of your church. You will be disavowed and censured.
Videos online, and it seems like even Christians, they are so focused.
Yeah, you are Jew first, Jewish Messiah first, if you're a Christian.
Born, where they live, the color of their skin, that they start to lose focus. They're being distracted by the devil.
Don't be caring about your people and your identity and your nations is the devil. You need to be Jesus first. It's satanic to
where they were born,
see
where they live,
yourself as a part of a
skin,
people.
That they start to lose focus. They're being distracted by the devil. There's one race, the human race under God.
Under the Jewish God, one race.
You are now a child.
Fresh explains why Jesus is God. Fresh and Fit. Fresh Updates has me banned, apparently. Not sure exactly why that is. Let's see. Fresh explains why Jesus is God. Let's see about this. Let's see his argument here.
For you to deny him as God is denying the whole point of the Bible and what he did for us. Because think about this.
Yeah. I deny the Bible. I deny that it really happened. I deny that it's real.
Think about this, right? How can a man die for all of our sins as only a man?
He didn't.
I understand, Matthew 10:40 says, Jesus says, he who receives you receives me, and he who receives me receives the one who sent me. So he's saying the thing, he doesn't say I am God directly. He says it in so many different ways. Also, the Pharisees wanted to stone Jesus Christ. Why is that? They claim to be God. Also, it says Matthew 14:33 says Jesus' disciples worship him.
So you think he's God because a book says he claimed to be God? Yeah, it has me blocked, huh? Yeah. I guess I'm not getting on Fresh and Fit to expose the Jesus deception anytime soon when they got Christ Cuck, top Christ Cuck here, Fresh, with his Jesus cross. All these guys act like Myron acts like he's so controversial and edgy, exposing Jews, but won't even call out their Torah, won't even call out the foundation of their whole identity and religion, won't call out their God, won't call out the Moshiach that's meant to conquer the Goyim, the whole foundation of Messianic Judaism.
Why is that? They claim to be God. Also, it says Matthew 14:33 says Jesus' disciples worship him and say, truly you are the Son of God. If he's not God, why are they worshiping him? Make sense? He's a father. He's a son.
Makes sense. Hey, the book says that these guys were worshiping him because he's God, so that's why he's God. Makes sense? This is the type of IQ that turns people into Christians, that leads people to Christ, apparently. This is all it takes to impress some people. The book says so he's God.
But they're one. So why would they worship Jesus Christ if he's not God? That would be heresy in itself. Also, the Pharisees were mad because they were like, hold on a second here. You're claiming to be God? We're going to stone you. But they couldn't because he actually was God. It says, and Matthew says, all authority on heaven and earth was given to me. Okay, who in the heck has the power to control heaven and earth if they're not God? Please tell me. Oh, a prophet? Definitely not. So you're wrong. Read your Bible properly. And as well, your verse is out of context, by the way, because if you read Matthew itself, all of Matthew.
Well, this sounds like he's responding to a Muslim, trying to prove that Jesus is not just a prophet, but God. And his proof is the Bible says so.
Him being the Son of God and God himself.
Who falls for this? I don't know. I love all the Jesus cartoons, though.
Validate my claim, which is what God said himself, not what I said. So how are you, a human being, putting limitations on God himself? How can you tell God what he is? It's just like you're saying like God can't be 3 in 1. Like, bro. For you to deny him as God,
dude. Why was it? Because I replied to a post or something? I know I commented on a clip of Fresh saying that, like, who cares? Don't fight. The prophecy's got to happen. I remember I covered that. No, he can't enunciate basic words. Not one coherent statement. Every comment is saying how dumb he is. I'm the king of the Jews. There's a good t-shirt. Dude, you guys are on this. The myth of Judeo-Christian. Brother Nathaniel with the new video. Let's hear the cope about how Christianity isn't Jewish from Bronat.
An oxymoron, an ugly beauty, a deadly remedy. I grew up in Judaism and was taught that it had to adapt its rituals and creed due to radical changes in Jewish history. The Babylonian captivity in 700 BC, the diaspora in 70 AD. Let's call it the Great Transformation from the biblical faith of Israel to the rabbinic faith of Judaism. Biblical faith was based on temple ritual exclusively done by the priesthood. Don't mess, for when King Uzziah presumed upon the priesthood, God struck him with leprosy.
The
Christianity,
priesthood.
the church.
You see, we're affirming Jewish priesthoods. Affirming priesthoods is affirming Jewish theological superiority.
Church. The Israel of God is the continuance of the biblical faith of Israel in its new covenant priesthood after the order of Melchizedek as prophesied by King David. Judaism, Talmudic law.
It's prophesied by King David, Melchizedek, huh? All right, let's go to Psalm 110, which is what he's talking about here. Let's read what it actually says here, Brother Nathaniel. The Lord said to my Lord, sit at my... Oh, we're talking about Melchizedek, by the way, the priest forever in the order of Melchizedek. What did your King David predict, Bronat? The Lord said to my Lord, so God said to the Messiah, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet. Ruling over the Gentiles, the enemies of the Jews. The Lord will extend your mighty scepter from Zion, saying, rule in the midst of your enemies. And Jesus rules, and Brother Nathaniel promotes Jesus, the Melchizedek high priest, Messiah, Davidic Messiah, to rule over the enemies of the Jews, Rome and the Gentile nations. The Lord is at your right hand, like Jesus sits at the right hand of God. He will crush kings, the Gentile kings, on the day of his wrath. He will judge the Goyim. So that's what Bronat and Christians are selling right now. Yeah, and See Through It All says, Jay Dyer says this was fulfilled with the Catholic Church, conquering the enemies of the Jews, ruling in the land of the enemies. That's what he's talking about here, Psalm 110. And David predicted.
After the order of Melchizedek as prophesied by King David. Judaism, Talmudic law, from which modern-day Judaism stems, is a continuance of the traditions of the elders which Jesus condemned. The rabbis claim this tradition is oral law given to Moses on Mount Sinai and carried through until fully codified in 600 AD. Yet Moses himself could not answer a lot of questions on religious issues. He had to wait for
We don't care about
Moshe.
We don't care about Moshe and his religious issues.
Oral law to guide him. For example, when some men who were defiled by touching a dead body thus could not keep the Passover, they asked Moses for guidance. Moses had to wait for God's answer. Only on God's commands could Moses ever act. Commands which Moses wrote down. Write these words, God tells Moses, for according to these words have I made a covenant with you and with Israel. Judeo-Christian is a recent invention, a ploy of Protestants in the 19th century to convert Jews to Christianity by giving them an easy meme to it. My rabbi...
An easy meme. So even if the term wasn't widely used, the term still has validity because they just came up with a term to describe that Christianity and Judaism share a common origin, that Christianity emerged out of Messianic Judaism. the fact that these e-crusaders have to cope about Judeo-Christian and Jesus being Jewish day in and day out should be the dead giveaway that Christianity is Jewish and Jesus is Jewish, if they always have to cope about it and they're always losing this debate.
Disputed. What do we have in common with Christianity, he taught. How is there any conjunction with a religion that distorts our Tanakh to conjure...
Distorts our Tanakh. Yeah, these Jews have been reading it in Hebrew and are obsessed with it, and all the Talmud is about interpreting it and commentaries on it. Dude, that's what it comes down. They're twisting our Tanakh. And what do the Jews say? You're twisting our Tanakh. No, we're not exposing and opposing the Torah. We're fighting over the correct interpretation of the Torah.
To it. My rabbi disputed. What do we have in common with Christianity, he taught. How is there any conjunction with a religion that distorts our Tanakh to conjure up a false Messiah? Christians, he said, use this phrase, Judeo-Christian, to give their false religion validity. Jewish partisans today find the phrase quite useful. Judeo-Christian serves to impose the notion that Judaism possesses the requisite root of Christianity. Rooted in Judaism, they say, Christianity must be subject to Judaic interpretations about Messiah, about Judaic outgrowths, about...
Hold on. Oh, no, they're trying to force Jewish interpretations of the Messiah? What do you think Christianity is? Jewish interpretation on messianic verses. Just like Jay Dyer said, the same exegesis that the Jews do is what the Christians did with Jesus. The messianic, Christological, typological proof texts.
Rooted in Judaism, they say, Christianity must be subject to Judaic interpretations about Messiah, about Judaic outgrowths, about Judaic interpretations of history. This interpretation has already saturated the Latin Church. It suddenly blames the Romans for the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, though St. Peter in Acts chapter 2 blames the Jews.
But, you're going to cherry pick and act like the Gospels don't say that Rome actually... It wasn't Roman soldiers that whipped him and cast lots for his garments? It wasn't a Roman that pierced him with the spear? Crucifixion wasn't a Roman punishment? Did you guys know that the Apostolic Creed and the Nicene Creed both don't blame the Jews for Jesus? Only Pilate and the Romans for killing Jesus very early on? All the top scholars are now blaming Rome also, saying he was a Jew, he was killed by the Romans. That's all we know about him. That's what the Bart Ehrmans say. Jesus says he laid down his life for everybody's sins. That's what actual Christians say too. I'm sure his Ortho-Bro church, the Ortho-Bro Study Bible, also says that. Jesus willingly laid down his life because of everybody's sin, died for all sins.
Blames the Jews. This interpretation has already saturated the Baptist church. Baptists still believe, in spite of the murder of Jesus Christ by the scribes and Pharisees and elders and Sadducees and the Jewish throng, in spite of St. Paul saying the branch is broken off, and only a remnant of Jewish faithful enters the church until the second coming of Jesus Christ, in spite of the denunciation of the synagogue twice in the revelation of St. John. In spite of all this, the Baptists still believe the Jews are the chosen people. We must not think through the prism of preconceived and foreign ideas when reading Holy Writ. We must think through the prism of the Church, the Orthodox Church. Right from the start, St. Ignatius, the God-bearer, writes, "It's absurd to speak of Jesus Christ and to cherish a Judaism which has come to an end. For where there is Christianity, there cannot be Judaism." He's right. There are stark differences between the synagogue and the church. The synagogue is exclusive. The church is universal. A member of our synagogue had married a Gentile woman, a shiksa. She converted to Judaism, and what can I say? She was the best Jew of us all. But she was never accepted.
Dude, hold on. This video is supposed to be about debunking the term Judeo-Christianity, right? The myth of Judeo-Christian. And then he goes, we're the fulfillment of the true Judaism. Like, yeah, that's why it's called Judeo-Christianity. You are a form of Judaism.
She didn't have the right blood,
So
the right
cope.
nefesh, a divinely given soul, but just a standard Gentile one. Don't say Judeo-Christian, it's a myth with, as in legalese, no standing.
The synagogue and the church don't mix. The church came out of the synagogue, as we just read a second ago. And the Bible says, look at this. There it is again. The Essence of Judaism by Leo Beck. He says, when was this written? Did you have the date here? The messianic mission of Christianity and Islam has been acknowledged by Judaism. Higher spirits in Judaism realized what a world historic task was being fulfilled by these two creeds in preparing the path for the days to come, and they did not refrain from admitting this quite openly. The religious literature of Judaism bears witness to this impartiality of judgment. The two most eminent thinkers of the Middle Ages, Yehuda Halevi and Moses Maimonides, expressed the idea plainly. Though assured of the truth of their own faith, and though convinced of the future triumph of their own religion, they nonetheless declared emphatically that Christianity and Islam are, quote, are preparing for the messianic times and leading up to it, that their vocation is to help in making the road for the coming of the kingdom of God, and that they have succeeded in spreading the word of the Holy Scriptures to the ends of the earth. How the Jews actually view Christianity. Let's see. Vatican condemns rise in anti-Semitism.
Verso il mondo.
Again this week. This is funny. If you hate Jews, you hate Jesus. Simple as 1.2. If only it was that simple. If only if all the people that had a problem with you see, the Christians don't even have a problem with Jews. They don't have a problem with the idea of like Jews and Judaism and their religion. The only problem is that they don't believe in Jesus. If you hate all things Jewish, then that would include Jewish messiahs. It should. Let's see. I want to see what you said there. Although you didn't do the minimum to have it be read. Let's see what you said. If only it was that simple. Tiffinel says, Judas, a Jew, brings a crowd to arrest Jesus. Sanhedrin provides false witness and votes to condemn. Thus, Jews arrested, Jews false witness, Jews vote for death. Where am I confused? Confused that it was still a Roman crucifixion done by Roman soldiers and approved of, even though the Bible has him washing his hands, it's still approved of by Pilate. And I don't think it happened at all. So if you want my opinion, it's not that the Romans really did it. It's not that the Jews really did it. It's that it's a myth and it didn't happen. Tiffinel. Hope that clarifies. R. Scott says, there is a Jew who is in charge of everything behind the scenes. His name is Jesus of Nazareth. So true. So true. That's the problem. Dude, these Christian accounts, the slop that they post, it's like, I got such Christian fatigue. 12,000 likes. The ascension of Jesus is a real historical event. My magical Jewish superhero floated away in the sky. Totally really happened. No way the Jews would lie about something like that. Totally real. Everything in the Bible is real. I trust everything the Jews said. Jesus ascended to heaven and he's coming back. 6,000 likes. Trust the plan. Jesus is floating down. Dude, Christians are going to be pissed. All this trash. Christians are going to be pissed.
Tiffinal sent $5 on Rumble. Sorry, don't know minimum. Thanks for your time.
No problem, Tiffinal. I read it anyway. Jesus ascended to heaven and he is coming back. Yeah, sure he is. Sure he is. Just like a Marvel comic book, he's gonna float down in the sky with his horse. Yeah, let's bet our future on that.
Yeah, I've got faith, dude. What do you have, you little bitch? You want to throw down, bro? Okay. Hey. You want to see what it feels like to talk shit about Christians, dude? I'll kick your heated ass.
Mark Levin again says it's like 1930s Germany. That's the talking point. 1930s Germany. You know where this is headed. You know what happened after that, right? Did you see what happened to 1940s Germany? They're all saying it's 1930s Germany in America. Do you see what happened at the end of the 1940s Germany? What happened to Germany after that? After that talking point was everywhere. Marjorie Taylor Greene on Bill Maher told Bill Maher that she thinks UFOs are not from outer space, but fallen angels. They're all, and Luke Radowski loves it. Oh yeah, fallen angels. Bible's totally true, Luke. Yeah, we all better believe in Jesus and in Hashem because the fallen angels is totally real, man. See how popular these? Oh, this tweet's not very popular. Tucker, Alex Jones. Everybody's pushing this. Aliens are fallen angels. The Book of Enoch's real, man. Nephilim, fallen angels, giants, demons, angels. They're floating around everywhere, bro. What if they're not UFOs and aliens, but they're like the Bible's true and they're demons?
Christian, I definitely, and I think people deserve to know the truth about it.
There was a hearing recently, right? Both of them are in the movie. Yeah. And a lot more came out. And there's a lot more people who are on board now. Very, very serious people.
I think it's a serious issue. Yeah, I'd love to know more about it, but we're not told anything about it.
In the film, one of the senior intelligence officials named Jay Stratton, he was the director of air and space warfare at the Defense Intelligence Agency, and then he ran the U.S. government's UAP task force. He tells a story about how he was trying
Go Christians. Go Christians. White Wizard.
At the Pentagon in a serious office space. And the
UFOs are the Nazis that escaped to Antarctica? Yeah, that's my theory. That's what I think.
His superiors told him that they thought these things were demons and that he was doing the devil's work by looking into it. And on camera in the film, he says, I can't believe these words were coming out of their mouths. He's like, I'm briefing them on an advanced aerospace vehicle that's absolutely there. It's been spotted by trained observers like our Navy fighter pilots in their $80 million airplanes that we trust them with, right? It's been spotted on data collection systems like satellite and radar. And this guy's telling me it's a demon. It's insane. And he's like, my mind was blown, and this is something I'm dealing with inside of the government.
It's Halloween. Let me just ask the final question for the panel. Do you think demons and the devil are real?
Absolutely. I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I definitely, and I believe those could be fallen angels.
All these things could be real.
Fallen angels?
Yeah.
Fallen angels.
The aliens are fallen angels.
That's possible. I think that's what they could be. That's what makes sense in my worldview.
Oh my God, we're so cooked. Dude, with Tucker and Nick and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Candace leading the charge against the Jews. Does anybody feel confident? Does anybody feel confident with those characters leading the charge? Dan Bilzerian. All right. That is all we have today, right on the dot for 2 hours. I got to go get something to eat. Huge shout out. Great support today. Had some super big donos in from Boleslaw. And who was the other one that gave that big, huge dono? Boleslaw with the massive dono. Dirty Rick also sent in 2. I hope that wasn't an accident, but I appreciate you so much. You guys are awesome. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'm not sure if I'll be back tomorrow. I might take tomorrow off and just work on the book all day. It's so close to being done. Unless anything big happens, I'll probably do that.
What an idiot.
All right, you guys, clip it up, share the show. Make sure if you're not, follow on TikTok and Instagram. Go to nomorenews.org to find the links to those. Also on YouTube, that's the Adam Green fan page on YouTube. Follow that as well. Share the link, like, share, subscribe. Subscribe star link below as well. I love you all, and I will see you guys again very soon. Take care. Hail the old gods and down with Yahweh.